Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They hailed her as the face of the future and said she would transform the league, but nobody told us that her largest challenge might be the league itself. Caitlin Clark went from being the WNBA's most adored poster child to becoming the league's biggest opponent in just a few games.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Bullets has emerged. How Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
Not only from opposing teams, either this was not your typical situation of a rookie going through growth pains. What transpired appeared far more calculated and risky.
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
The referees, who were meant to maintain fairness, stood by like extras in a lousy drama while Caitlin suffered knocks, was pushed to the ground, and had to play through a sea of missed whistles game after game. What began as sporadic mistakes swiftly turned into a widespread problem of no calls, allowing flagrant fouls to continue when Clark hit the deck. To show your support, leave a comment below with Protect CC down.
Felines head coach Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then came the time when nobody wanted Caitlin to be sidelined due to a quad injury, and fans began to record every uncalled foul, unchecked body check, and look she gave the officials pleading for a whistle that never blew.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled them.
It no longer appeared to be bad luck. It became apparent that it was deliberate. And just as the discussion was getting heated, fresh information started to surface that revealed how flawed this officiating system actually is.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp on what it's going to be.
It turns out that a large number of the league's referees were taken from high school leagues. You guessed it. Furthermore, they aren't even using their own judgment to call games. No, the league depends on GMs, coaches, and other stakeholders communicating to referees behind the scenes how physically they want games to be played.
The referees are not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And in the midst of this pandemonium, where influence, ego, and money meet, is Caitlin Clark. The WNBA is finally feeling the heat after weeks of mounting indignation, with viral videos spreading like wildfire and even players and coaches speaking out.
If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
If it doesn't take immediate action, the league's golden goose might turn into its largest liability due to allegations of lawsuits and favoritism among referees. And now for the big question. To shut down the same player they have been profiting from since day one, how far will they go?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark is a person who never backs down. Upon returning to Iowa, she transformed women's hoops into primetime television, attracted millions of viewers, and rewrote the record books. Everyone anticipated pyrotechnics when she joined the WNBA, not only from her performance, but also from the enthusiasm she would create for a league in dire need of a miracle.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
And it was functioning for a minute. Attendance skyrocketed. TV ratings reached all-time highs. However, Clark was greeted with an elbows-up attitude and animosity right away rather than the league showing him the red carpet.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5 of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out at least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas draw ratings?
When she first onto the court as a professional, basketball wasn't the only thing on her mind. It was also personal. Each game was like a gauntlet. She received full court pressure, off-ball hacks, and floor contact that belonged in a rugby battle rather than a basketball game, and the referees were nowhere to be seen. The defenders weren't just protecting her. They were bodying her like it was UFC fight night. For Clark, contact that would have resulted in a whistle for any other elite player received nothing. She often had to clench her teeth and persevere.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
The league continued to follow the same stale path. She simply needs to adapt. But why is it always her responsibility to change? Why is Caitlin Clark the only celebrity advised to get tougher while everyone else is given crown jewel protection, and then she gets hurt? Caitlin was ruled out with a left quad strain after playing game after game for an incredible amount of time, often up to 35 minutes every night, for at least 2 weeks.
Said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
It wasn't merely a failure. It was a devastating blow to Indiana Fever and a huge defeat for the WNBA as a whole. Additionally, it didn't seem like a strange accident to many admirers. The upshot of a season of unbridled violence and a league that failed to look out for the one player who was keeping the lights on felt like the price of neglect.
It's the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue maybe a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching. Never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team?
This was not some inevitable turn of events. It was a catastrophe that was preventable. The utter quiet was what made it hurt even more. Regarding the beatings Caitlin Clark had been receiving, the league said nothing. No excuses or remarks, just another name added to the list of injuries, but this wasn't just any name. This represented the new age of the WNBA. She was seated not because she couldn't withstand the heat, but rather because the system that was supposed to protect her turned its back on her.
But Kelsey Mitchell said even if there is a injury, hopefully it's just, like a little nagging thing. And again,
take care of your body and just make sure you I think recovery is everything. I think if you're in tune to your body, you know what you need. Caitlin.
Even the court's members alluded to the problem. A teammate of Kelsey Mitchell Clark gently urged her to pay attention to her body's signals. A subtle acknowledgement that Caitlin was enduring suffering that most people would avoid. Fans saw that it was highlighted in media outlets. The most pressing question now is who stands to benefit from the league's brightest star's absence and why she was left so exposed.
For you guys, and they do not talk about it here. And that's why I also don't want us to personally attack some of these referees. I think they're doing their job. If they're hiring referees who basically didn't have any experience but high school refereeing jobs, and then they did a stint in the G League, like these referees actually aren't. I gained and reconfirmed with myself that not much is going to change.
Examining the WNBA's officiating in greater detail exposes an unsettling truth. The referees are underqualified and not just inexperienced. They are not seasoned professionals with years of experience. Instead, they are frequently learning the ropes while officiating the most high-stakes games the league has ever seen. This lack of experience is glaringly evident, especially when it comes to managing the league's most talked-about players. Some have jumped straight from high school courts into the WNBA, avoiding important developmental stages like college or the NBA League. Caitlin Clark.
There's a committee for stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers, and that is saying what style of basketball they want to allow, and the referees are following that law.
However, the rabbit hole is deeper. These officials are not making decisions only on the basis of their discretion. Behind the scenes, a competition committee that includes coaches, general managers, and stakeholders is deciding how games should be officiated. This committee is made up of people who have a stake in particular results rather than being objective. League insiders have verified this in interviews, so it's not just conjecture. Referees are being trained on how physical they may be, which fouls to call first, and what kind of play fits the league's image rather than just what's fair.
It took us halfway through the season. This year, it took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, I've had enough.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
This meticulously maintained status quo is upset by Caitlin Clark's presence. She delivers a new tempo, receives previously unheard of media attention, and creates a spotlight that challenges the status quo. The rougher, slower, more physical game that the committee appears to like conflicts with her dynamic approach. The consequence, she faces undue punishment on the court without the protection she deserves.
Y'all see what's happening right here? That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Oh, my God. I mean, he literally got his back turned, ignoring Caitlin. I mean, this is bad.
Contact that would prompt immediate whistles in the NBA or even college games is discarded. No calls, no justice, just silence. And when she seeks explanations from the officials, she's met with indifference. This isn't paranoia, there is systemic bias.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
Clark repeatedly receives uncalled hits, and the smallest contact from her results in an instant foul. During a crucial game, Coach Stephanie White tried to contest one such case, but she was prevented by an obscure regulation since she only had a reset and no complete timeout. The officials were protected, but Clark wasn't. This kind of complicated rule enforcement doesn't simply cost games at Erida's Faith.
The only draw in your league, the only player capable of selling tickets, is potentially out for an extended period of time. What the hell are you gonna do now?
This isn't about isolated blunders, it's about a flawed structure where referees answer not to the fundamentals of the game or fairness, but to secret interests in addition to defenders. A system that is trying to dominate the story rather than protect its most valuable asset is targeting Caitlin Clark.
In that situation. And I understand the frustration that I think comes the most with officiating is the inconsistencies of officiating. But listen, this is not unique to the WNBA.
It gets evident the more that is revealed. The officiating crisis is deliberate, not coincidental. The league may try to minimize the problem, but the criticism is growing. Concerns aren't just being voiced by fans. With Caitlin Clark at the center, players, coaches, and experts around the country are publicly critiquing the officiating. This isn't about trying to get favor. It's about calling for justice.
All right, when that foul took place, CBS said, She's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it. Stephanie White could not challenge that foul call on Lexi Hull, the one that led to the game-winning free throws from Sabrina Ionescu, because she didn't have a timeout. You need a full timeout, not a reset timeout, to initiate the challenge. Now, my issue with that is it would have been nice if the CBS announcers hadn't even brought up the challenge.
When referees routinely fail to call obvious fouls on a celebrity who receives unprecedented attention, fans begin to demand accountability. During the matchup between the Fever and Liberty,